This is the Wide Format Impressions Broadcast.
Welcome to the Wide Format Impressions Broadcast. I'm Dan Marks, Content Director. For many family-owned businesses, the transfer of the company from generation to generation is a profound event, as the reins of the business are taken from an outgoing or retiring leader from one generation and taken up by an incoming leader of the next. And while within families the choice of who will become the next leader may be obvious, the person chosen and elevated needs the skills to maintain and grow the business, boost it into a new age, and maintain its relevancy. There is much to consider. To dig deep into generational business succession, I'm delighted to welcome two printing professionals who are speaking to us from the inflection point, right as their companies have made that generational jump. Ted Corman, listener and trusted advisor at Firehouse Image Center, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Eric Kahle, president at Visual Marking Systems, VMS, in Twinsburg, Ohio. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Dan, for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
For those who aren't familiar with your businesses, can you each take a moment and describe the company? When was it founded? What technologies do you use? And what are your primary markets you serve? And Eric, do you want to go first?
Our company was founded in 1960 and purchased by my family in 1982 by my father and grandfather. We specialize in industrial durable label, decal nameplate overlays, as well as fleet graphics, some more wide format in there, and then apparel and promo. From a technology standpoint, we are one of the unique, I guess at this point, shops where we are a hybrid shop. We still screen print and digitally print, especially on the durable industrial label side, but also we do some screen print on some vehicle graphics. And then from an apparel standpoint, we also screen print there, of course, along with digital decoration capabilities and more.
And Ted, can you tell us a little bit about Firehouse?
Firehouse, founded in 1971, is a photo lab. And in 1990, my parents bought it. And then over time, it converted to large format digital printing. Still doing some photographic output. So some folks say I'm making buggy whips, but machines are paid for and they run. But we specialize in yard signs, banners, and all the things that go along with large format.
And Ted, I guess I'd like to stay with you for this next question, but one of the things I'm most curious about is how you got to where you are. So prior to this role that you're taking on, did you work in other jobs? And what was your trajectory into the family company? When did you join in full?
Terry and Sally bought the business in 1990. I was heading off to college. I spent 5 years coming back and forth from school, working in the summers, on the weekends, and when overtime was necessary. But the family rule always was, once you graduated college, you got to go work for somebody else to figure out what the real world is about. And we'll call you when we're ready for you to come back. So I graduated college, got a job selling insurance. There are still days where I wonder why I didn't stick with that. But I was out of the business for probably about 18 months. And then they called and said, hey, we bought a copy and print shop when copy shops used to be on every corner, pre-FedEx days or Kinko's days. Mm-hmm. We need somebody to come and run that for us. So will you do that? I came back. I did that for about 3 years, managing people, learning how to offset print, doing everything that was involved with that location. And then Terry called me one day and said, hey, I know you don't read enough, but there's this new file format coming out and it's going to be the end of the copy shop. So I want you to sell all the equipment and get out of that business, and then I'll find another job for you. And I had this blank stare on my face, and he said, look, it's this file format called PDF. It's the end of the copy shop world. You're done. Give me my money back and we'll get you a job in the building. So I did. And I walked into his office after I had sold everything off. And he said, okay, these are all the clients that we've made angry over the last 5 years. We're going to find out if you're any good at sales real quick. Start calling on all these people. You get no project manager. You got to go out and eat what you kill. So go get jobs, bring them in, write them up, track them through the shop, and then get them delivered. I did that for about 6 months, and everybody said, you got to get this kid out of our hair because we can't deal with him anymore. He's driving us crazy. And so that was my journey through that.
And are you doing what you thought you'd do when you grew up?
I am not built to work for anybody else. I recognize that now, and I have a full understanding. I figured that out probably 5 years into this, that I was not made to fill out reports and follow somebody else's lead. We were raised to be adults and expected to operate like that, and we got paid to operate as adults. So it was all good.
So Eric, what was your trajectory into the business?
You can go to as early as 12 years old, picking and weeding vinyl, getting paid a cent, 1 penny a pick at night. But my very first introduction really to the business in terms of being W-2'd was coming in when I was 16 after school and scrubbing the floors. Just opportunity to make some money and put me around the business a little bit more. Fast forward, I think I was about 19, I got my PDAA Master Installer certification and really enjoyed doing that. But at the same time, I've never left town and wanted to have a good go at education. And so moved upstate New York and got the hell out of Dodge, or Twinsburg, Ohio. I then, after graduating, worked a little bit in a few different industries, and I worked at Bausch & Lomb. I worked in logistics. I always was really interested, and still am very interested in operational efficiencies. That's, to me, adding to the bottom line is fun. Adding to the top line is hard. And so I decided, my wife and I looked at each other, and she was running a private practice up in Rochester, and we realized we had no friends in the area anymore. Everybody graduated and moved out.
Okay.
And we were living outside the city and in a little bit of a rural area, and we just didn't want to do it anymore. We started looking for opportunities really for her to find aligned docs with her, with what she does. And it just so happened there was a very aligned doc here in the Cleveland area. So actually we're sitting on a chairlift in Vermont and decided to move back to Ohio. That decision still hurts me every once in a while, but I'll be back up in Vermont next week, in Colorado in 3 weeks. But anyways, I started putting some feelers out there. I thought, stay in logistics. I always had jobs, whether or not it was in college working at a brewery, or even before I was scrubbing floors here. A buddy started a landscaping company in high school and worked for him, and just wanted to keep busy and make some money without really a goal of what I wanted to do in my life. It took me a long time to figure that out.
Right.
I just wanted money and I wanted to have fun. As I matured, that changed. As I started to put some feelers out in the Cleveland area, my dad approached me and said, hey, listen, are you interested in coming back in the business? Because I'd rather have this conversation with you now than you go work for 3 years for somebody and put them in a tough situation by leaving them. And I'd rather us just start the journey now. So we came up with a 10-year management training program. I went through estimating, job costing, cost accounting, moved into a production control master scheduling position. And then from there, we started Badlime. So that was not a part of the 10-year management trainee program, but Badlime is our apparel and promo business. And I ran that for 3-ish years, which was probably the best crash course I could have in running a business, was being a part of a startup. From there, moved back into the business, into VMS, as we supported my roles at Badlime, and moved into business development. And from there, quickly jumped into a sales leadership role, and now have become president on year 9 out of a 10-year management training program. And my father at this point is, unlike Terry, he's really out of it, Ted, as he gave the farewell. Dolph is still, he's partially retired. He is our CEO, remains that position. He's very strategically and financially focused. And the executive team now reports to me, and I'm very operationally focused and sales focused. Sales still reports to me as well, but very day-to-day focused in my responsibilities.
Ted, in terms of like when this transition would happen, who made that call? Did you say, I'm ready to start, I'm ready to jump in? Or in this case, did your father say, I'm ready to step down, I'm ready for you now?
That is an odd question, because probably 15 years ago, I got a phone call from the business accountant. And he was actually my little league coach when I was a kid. And he called me and he said, "Hey, Ted, I need you to come up to the office." Okay. I was in my early 40s, maybe late 30s. And he said, "I want to talk to you about your position at Firehouse." I said, "Okay." He said, "Your dad, Terry, cannot retire until he is 70 years old. The reason being is guys who retire before that age are dead within 3 years. Here's a list of 12 women that you can call who are happy to take your phone call and discuss this, but you got some time before you're going to be in that position. And if you're not okay with that, you should probably go do something else."
Okay.
And I said, "That's super interesting." And he slid the names over and I looked at it and I knew some of the names. And at that point in time, I realized he can stay involved as much or as little as he possibly wants, because at least I know his mind is working.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to have him. We got to this point 3 different times where he was like, "Okay, I want out." And then we lost our largest client, or we knew our largest client was going to go away because Walmart had bought them. And he's, "Yeah, I can't do that to you." And then we got through that and he said, "Okay, we're going to get this done right now." And I said, "Okay." And then COVID happened and he was like, "Yeah, I can't leave you during COVID. So we're going to hold this out for you a little bit." And then finally, actually, Sally was the one who said, we've got to make this transition happen. We can't do this anymore. It's too stressful. So let's get this done. And she was actually the driving force behind making this happen.
Now, Eric, how did you know the time was right? I know your dad was getting ready to step down, but how did you define that moment?
I don't know. Quite honestly, it was more of an evolution. When you focus on that 10-year management trainee program concept, the beginning of that was testing the waters for him, as well as me. Do I want to be in this business? Is this something that I want to do? And he had a rule very similar to what Terry's rule was. There was 3 points to it. You had to go get a college education. You had to go work somewhere else. And if you were going to come back in the business, you had to show a passion for the business. You weren't just going to collect a paycheck. You needed to show that you wanted to be a part of some type of leadership within the organization.
Right.
You didn't have to be president, but that you had to have that passion. He partially retired 2 years ago. The executive team started coming to me more on the tail end of that trainee program because the writing was on the wall at that point. That position was me next. He actually surprised me. A year ago, 13 months ago, hosted our annual sales meeting, internal sales meeting. And at the end of the meeting, he said, "Hey, great meeting, good job. You got to do this sales role for 2 more years. In 2 years, you're going to be the president." Okay. And it was just last month that he promoted me to president. So he bumped that up by a year. I think that's because, one, he saw my passion for the business. I met all 3 categories. But then also, he sees the decision-making that I make for the organization. Like I said, I'm very operationally minded. So I love automations. I love the adoption of AI into the business, finding new ways every day.
Yeah.
We are in the middle of completely replacing our ERP. I changed out our CRM. You go back to when I first joined the business and our install schedule was on a whiteboard where the installers are taking a picture of it every day, having that picture of it. I'll immediately put that on Google Calendar and got that in everybody's pocket. So I made a big shift in the organization along with some key employees that have helped me and also came up with their own ideas and awesome software solutions and stuff like that. But I think as he saw that the executive team, I had people coming to me before I had any ownership in the business or as a president going, "This is your company. What do you think our right decision is?" Including Dolph and I, we have an 8-person executive team. And so they started to lean on me some more. And I think for him, he's got grandkids in 3 different states and he has a lot of trust in the direction I'm taking the business, that he said, I don't want to feel that I have to manage the executive team or be here because I know I don't need to be. And he told me it was a huge weight off of his shoulders. He sleeps a little easier now, a little less stress throughout the day. But just Terry, again, we're keeping his brain moving, which is really important. He can take any penny he wants from the business as long as he doesn't put us in a bad position. And this is mostly his at this point. But I think with all those comfort levels, as well as being widely accepted by the executive team, there's no animosity there for the decision. They've all been very supportive and very kind since this transition happened.
Mm-hmm.
He just saw it was, yeah, we can do this a year early. It's the right time.
Now, Eric, just to continue with that, outside of the walls of the business, what have you had to do to get yourself ready, both professionally, emotionally, to take this on? Because I know you both are taking a big step. And what would you say in brief that it took to get you ready to have your brain in the game?
Yeah, a lot of personal growth. I years ago started with a professional coach too, understanding what leadership meant, finding ways to not let this place drag me down, because nobody comes to your office to say, hey, just so you know, that $10,000 order, we just shipped it perfectly with not a single problem and the customer's happy. Nobody tells you that's never the problem that comes in your door or the comment that comes in your door. And so learning how to balance that with my family, running another business, my wife running another business, that took time. It's tough. I had times in which I was completely burnt out, questioning whether or not I should be doing this. And so I really think professional growth, understanding how to control different emotions, different stressors in my life was really important. Now, Ted and I talk about working out and that being a huge factor that keeps our heads on straight. Right. I always joke 51% of the reason that I work out, at least 51% is for the mental health, if not more. Right. And finding ways to also work with the team that's built around you in ways that I think it's difficult when you come into an opportunity to lead an organization where you don't see the same effort necessarily of every single person around you. It shouldn't be. I should have more stress on my shoulders in my position. But learning how to work with all the different walks of life that we have and have my personality promote quality leadership, but also still promoting a fun environment, that definitely took time. And I still work on it every day, but I can tell you I'm a hell of a lot better of a leader today than I was 2 years ago, 5 years ago. There's things that I can recall that I did wrong that I wish I could do again, but at the same time I don't, because I learned a lot. So it's an ongoing assessment of yourself, how to drive happiness, but also still run a successful and profitable business all at the same time. It's a lot to balance.
Ted, same question for you, the sort of emotional and professional development you needed to prepare yourself.
On the emotional side, I went through a process of great physical and mental change since the end of November of 2022. I found my love for working out, picking up everything and putting them down.
To water skiing, kicking
back
butt,
to water skiing.
Great.
Yeah, it is. An hour and a half a day between stretching and exercise, it seems to be the bare minimum right now. And I get that done. I'm in the gym by 5:30 at the latest, most days 5:15. And that is my time to open up my mind, think about some things when nobody's walking into my office saying, hey, do you know what's going on? That's one of those things where Terry and Sally held that tight to their vest. I knew who the banker was. I knew who the insurance guy was, how the payroll system operated and who did that. But now it's mine and I'm trying to get all that figured out. But in turn, I'm letting our executive team take ownership of that and saying, hey guys, I'm only one person. I'm not going to do all this. You guys have got to be responsible for some of this stuff. Don't make a decision that'll kill us. And if you think it's too big, just come and ask me. And they've all stepped up, which has been a real blessing that I don't have to worry about every detail. The biggest problem that I've had through this process is these people have been my friends. The employees have been my friends for a long time. And I didn't always know everything that was going on in their lives. And now I feel like there are days where I know too much because I've got to get the HR updates as to what's going on with people. And that's a little bit difficult. But wake up at 4:45, hit the gym, get my workout in, and tackle each day with a positive attitude.
Okay.
So,
Now, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time with this question. And I will also say that I know both of you spent a good amount of time with the company. You were known quantities. You didn't just swoop in at the last minute and take the helm. Did either of you have to deal with being the boss's son or the family member, the heir apparent? And how did you deal with that? Or did you just have to earn your trust and demonstrate your commitment in the day-to-day? Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the silver spoon, man. And it's okay because it is important to show your value. We've had multiple family members in the business. Now it's just Dolph and I at this point. But just because you have a passion for the business does not mean that you're an intelligent business leader. You can make bad decisions and waste money and not be there and be a terrible leader and care about the business all at the same time. So I think at a young age, it frustrated me. It definitely did. Because I knew that I wanted to be successful in being a part of the business and be a contributor.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair, especially because we have a lot of tenured employees. I think it's fair for them to question it and want to see proof of the pudding. And the other side of it, and I think about this in my life, regardless of the situation, everybody I think needs to learn the best way for them to lean into those challenges. If you fight it, if you are argumentative back, if you try to put somebody in their place because you think it's wrong, all you did was spark the fire more. I welcome some poking fun, and it's okay. It doesn't affect me in a way that I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. But a real quick story, there was an executive who's still an executive that 15 years ago made it very clear to me and multiple people in the organization, I will never work for you. Those exact words. When I came into the president role, I grabbed him and sat down with him and had a lovely conversation. And it was just, you said these things, and it's been reminded to me by the staff that you had said that. And I don't hold grudges. That's not why I'm having this conversation, but how is our relationship going to be? You got 5 years till you retire, and I respect you. You've been here for 17 years. You're a smart guy. And I said, to be fair, when you said that, I was not the same person I was today. I was more focused on having fun in life than I was about my career.
Sure.
And his response was, I really enjoy everything that I've watched you do over the last 9 years. And he goes, I think your trajectory is fantastic. I think you come up with great ideas. And he goes, I also was not the same person 15 years ago as who I am today. So part of it too, I definitely wanted to make sure, and there's a couple other people, but nothing as extreme as that, just to address it head on and have a professional conversation. And it was very successful. But I am the world's best SOB. That is son of boss. That is.
Ted, what about that sounds familiar, and what about that is different?
There were a couple of things that happened. When Firehouse was purchased, I left to go to college, and I came back the first summer, and a deal was presented to me. They're like, here's a deal. This business is failing, so we need you to work here for free, and we will keep track of your hours, and we will send you a weekly check, but we can't afford to pay you. Are you interested in this? And I said, yeah, I'll be happy to do that. And they said, okay. So that was back in the photo lab days where everybody was in a dark room. So Terry grabbed me. We went to the back of the building, and he knocked on every single door, got the operator out and said, hello, introduced me. This is my son, Ted. Mm-hmm. And anything you don't want to do, you ask him to do it and he'll do it. And that's how I worked all through college for all those years. And then we always had a family rule that I could not call them mom and dad inside the business. Mm-hmm. So they have always been Terry and Sally. And I was vigilant about that. And it's still, we're only 6 weeks out from this transition happening. I still struggle to call them mom and dad. They're Terry and Sally. We're 34 years into me calling them Terry and Sally. So
I only recently started calling him dad again in the organization. It's weird, but I didn't want to call him that at all at the beginning. I wanted to disconnect that family relation in any way I could.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. And they just said, we will be referred to as Terry and Sally, and it will be beneficial for you in the end. And they were right. And employees would say, hey, your dad said, and I said, his name's Terry. While he is my father, that's how we operated. And I'm still trying to figure out how to break that.
Yeah.
And the team is still calling them Terry and Sally to me, which is good. There's that separation. I went through that. I made every mistake 3 times. That's what Terry always said. I'm paying for you to learn the mistakes so that you don't make them if this place is yours. So I made every mistake over the years, and I worked production for a long time. And I think people understand that I'm capable if need be. And I'll go back and help and run a press. If we got a job that's in danger or needs help, I'll go back and run a cutter, run a press. All I do is push the button and make it go. It's not like I can set it up and do all the rest of that stuff, but they all know that I'll help. And that's how we dealt with that.
Finally, let's start with Eric. How do you both balance the reverence for the past, the strong directions and decisions the previous generation made, and your desire to further build the company, change it, and put your own mark on it?
Yeah, it's tough because of technology. Like, we've really changed a lot of things, and it's not for the bad, but there's just a lot of automations going into place that really changed the way that we do business. However, they were profitable, and they have had great relationships with customers and suppliers. And that's the big thing for me, is that we're just as successful because of our suppliers as we are our customers. Open door policy. There is nobody that can't walk into this building, almost nobody that can't walk into this building, and continue to drive to keep an ear to the ground within the printing industry to understand technological changes and advancements. Make great relationships with your suppliers. They're the ones that are going to get you out of trouble, and do your best to do the exact same thing with those customers so that when they have a print need, regardless if you're the one that can provide it, they call you. I don't necessarily have to sell it, but if I can connect you with somebody, then I know that you're going to call me back the next time you have a print related question. And maybe that time I can sell it to you.
Ted, same question. How do you balance reverence for the past?
Reverence for the past. Terry had a saying, the only thing that's constant is change. There is no reverence for the past other than taking care of the people like their family. If you're not changing, you're going backwards. And so I've just got my eyes up, trying to pay attention to the trends that are going on, and doing the right things for the people is the only thing that matters, because they're the ones with all the ideas. Am I holding on to photo? Yeah, I'm still holding on to photo, and that's our past. But otherwise, I'm not really worried about that. I'm just trying to make sure that we're profitable and the people that work there are taken care of.
Ted Corman, Firehouse Image Center, and Eric Kahle, Visual Marketing Systems. I wish you both all the best as you move forward. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to the Wide Format Impressions broadcast. You can find more great content at wideformatimpressions.com.